rights group in the UK, ORG, they're trying to ensure that there is compliance and conformance among the ISPs with laws that have been passed to Europe regarding data protection. So there is the concern that the ISPs are not keeping up with what's the regulation.
And they can't, you see, Roy, because this is a problem. Say, for example, they were to remove this clause that says, there would be, shared data in the prevention and detection of crime. And again, national security, interest in national security in the T word, people can get whatever they want. If they didn't have that clause there, it wouldn't matter, because any sort of government body can go to a court and get a warrant very, very simply and ask for this information. Now, the ISP then, when it's presented with a court warrant, can either give over the information, or they can be then liable for arrest, and they commit the crime, and the data is still taken anyway. People fail to grasp that if this data will never ever, you will never have your privacy, and you will never be private. Obviously, if you engage in encrypting your data, that's a different matter. And I wouldn't like to say about the different strengths, as it were, of the encryption sub packages out there, because I don't know. I've never personally used encryption before. But there's always a way to get this data.
Everybody uses encryption to some degree.
Well, yeah.
If you do financial transactions.
But I'm talking about the people who intentionally will use PGP is one that comes to mind. I have
that's encryption for one specific protocol. It's email transmission.
Yeah.
But people use, if you've paid online, if you've accessed your BT bill online or something, you're using encryption. Whether it's good encryption or whether the NSA has got backdoor to it is a different kind of question.
Well, you take it that it's encryption. Most people will take it on good faith that when they put their password into whatever site they're getting into, that it's encrypted in some way to prevent other people from using it. The site says it is, and when you enter your card details to make a purchase, it says it's secure. But does the average user know that it's secure? No, they just take it on good faith. It may well be secure, and it may well be sort of watertight. But again, like I say, the mainstream consumer doesn't have the interest or the understanding to follow these issues properly. One thing I can just say, just remind me very quickly. I saw something very interesting recently, and I can't remember where I saw it, but it was basically it was somebody in government who was talking about encrypting of data and privacy and things like that, and he implies that by encrypting your data and making attempts to protect your privacy, you would have the eye of suspicion sort of pointed at you because you were the one using encryption, and what's he up to? He must have something to hide. And I thought that was very interesting, because obviously it means that now they've got a concern that people are starting to care about the privacy.
The NSA keeps encrypted messages in particular. You think they'll throw them away because they cannot decrypt them, but it's quite the opposite. If you encrypt your data, they will keep it for longer, in case that one, they will have the computing power to do that, maybe a quantum computer, or two, they will find a flaw that will allow them to then decrypt the messages. So basically you are flagging yourself more so, but it doesn't necessarily mean they can read what you wrote.
I personally think for the UK, in any case, as far as my personal opinion of the UK is, that was a scare tactic, because the government is concerned that people would start wanting their privacy, which is not an unreasonable thing to want. I mean, I said I wouldn't bother with encryption. It's not really an issue for me. I'm not going to encrypt my files or anything like that, or put files onto Google Drive that are encrypted with PGP or whatever. What I would say was it seemed more of a scare tactic, and it's a very sad state of affairs that people would have to feel that if they do want to encrypt, and there might be genuine reasons as well. For example, my book, if I had copyright concerns that somebody was going to steal my great idea, and I put great in quotes, then I might encrypt my book in its current format and put it on a Google Drive. There's nothing untoward in that book. It purely is the fact that I don't want somebody stealing it, and I have a concern. But then
nobody can steal it, don't worry, unless they can delete it from your computer. Yeah.
It's just the example. But if I could just say, there's something very worrying starting to happen now, and I don't know a lot about this. I've been trying to find some more information on it by searching it, but there's very, very little detail. It seems that now there's a law, and I'm not sure which act it comes under, but it appears that not supplying a password for an encrypted file or similar is an offence in some shape or form.
Where? The
Now,
question is where?
there was a case, like,
In the States or in
no, in the UK.
UK?
In the UK, it came as a result of, I believe, a SOCPA arrest that came was on television.
A USB, yeah, a guy who had his USB
Yeah,
USB key.
and I think I think
read
he
about it.
refused to give his password,
Mhm.
and then because of that, which beggars belief if he'd forgotten the password, which we all do, but he refused to give his password, and there was some other charge levied against him. I mean, this was what I read. I don't know this. I don't know any more than that. So I was sort of.
I think he's allowed to refuse. Well, the law in the UK is different from the US. Usually they eventually converge, but currently it's different. It depends on the states as well, which state as well. There is a bunch of cases in the states. It also, I think, depends on the allegations that's leveled against you, and if they have other evidence. The other thing they try and do is to crack the encryption or to figure out the headers of some of the files so that they have a reasonable suspicion to then say, oh, look, we can see that the file names, they look a bit suspicious. However, I think that this idea that they should have access to all the data and encryption misses the point that sometimes they go to the supplier. In the case of Lovabit, they would go to the person transmitting your mail and decrypting it for you, and they would then force them to give the SSL keys or the encryption keys so they can read your email. So there is also the man in the middle.
Can you remember this case I'm talking about? I mean, it was about a year ago, I think.
What, in the UK?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Recently. I think it's still ongoing, to be honest.
Oh, is it? Yeah, because I just can't find any more information on it. Because I was very interested. Obviously, as you know, I have a little bit of a law background.
Yeah, I posted at least a couple of links to it in TechBytes at some stage, but I think I don't think he was. The major scandal was just the fact that they want him to give the password. I don't know if he was arrested for something else. There might be some unruly conduct of the resulting at the scene. Him cursing at a cop, and then the cop is saying, "Oh, that's horrible. I'm just gonna show you. I'll find something against you," and they find something, and they maybe make something up. Of course, I have a friend who works in the Ardell Center and he works in security, and now they have this new thing where as they walk, instead of having like a nice tie or something, they've got like a camera sticking at you, and it says something along the lines of "Smile, you're being watched." Of course, he doesn't choose to wear it, but his bosses have a monopoly on the footage. Of course, he cannot go there, and the way they sell it to him is like, wear this, it will protect you, or it will support you, and whatever. It's obviously not supporting the public. Whoever controls the camera decides what evidence to divulge. And you maybe with a freedom of information request, if you're very legally savvy, maybe you'd be able to get the footage and request it by law. I hereby require that you give me the footage, and they might give it to you. There's an interesting footage in Texas coming out in becoming viral on YouTube of a guy who really tried hard to get the footage from the police of an incident that happened where the police was overstepping its authority. But the fact of the matter is, with all of these cases where you have a camera, when you have footage, you have to remember who's got access to it, because that's the person who's in power. That's the person who really has the plot and can provide proof and deny proof if he or she doesn't feel like giving it. And GCHQ is a great example of a monopoly on the data. They know everything about everyone. They know who you talk to, they know what you talk about, they can listen to you, they can do anything. But you have no access to this data, you have no access. It's not a backup of your data. It's just something that can always be leveled and used against every potential politician, every potential dissident, every protest organizer, and they'll find something on you. It's not just copyright infringement claims, it'll be something more severe, so they can put some big headline in the news that will destroy your reputation, and they do that. They leak it to the media. This is why it's such a big deal that they have the Angela Merkel's file, and they refuse now to give it to her. They just say, just trust us, we stopped spying on you now. But we're not going to show you your dossier, basically. There were scandals before, even in the days of WikiLeaks, when they divulged the data showing that they were spying on Argentinian leaders and using it to smear them and to basically go into the private lives of people. Completely for political reasons, but nothing to do with security.
I'm surprised Ms. Merkel, in the example you just gave, I mean, it is a pretty pointless exercise. If she requests data that they collected on her, I mean, these people are willing to intrude on yours, mine, and her, in this case, privacy. They're willing to overstep the mark as what's classed as acceptable and decent in terms of intrusion.